Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Moving Saugus Forward Committee's roundtable discussion on whether or not we should change our charter. We should form a charter commission here in Saugus. My name is Anthony Cogliano, your current chairman of the Board of Selectmen. This journey began for me 3 years ago, as I started to explore ways to improve our town. It should come as no surprise to anyone that I would eventually bring this up, as I met with our present town manager, town council, and discussed it with the current Board of Selectmen on numerous occasions. What ultimately prompted me to bring this forward now was my dissatisfaction with how our manager received his latest contract extension. The manager had requested an executive session meeting to discuss his retroactive raise, and I had no objection to this request. What I was unaware of was that the posting of the agenda was vague and allowed for discussion beyond the raise. I suspect it was coordinated with 3 members of the board beforehand, but 2 of us were not informed. After discussing the salary, a subsequent motion was made to extend the manager's contract beyond 2025, its expiration date, stretching it through 2027. At that point, the manager would have the required years for a full pension. I was not in favor of this, as it should have been a decision for the next Board of Selectmen, not the current one. For those of you who may not be familiar with the process, hiring a manager requires a 4/5 vote of the board, but an extension only requires 3 votes. For those paying attention, it's evident that the current manager has the majority of the board in his corner. Initially, I didn't support it, and neither did Selectman Riley. However, in the interest of presenting a united front and running our town, I convinced Corinne that we had nothing to gain by voting against it, as it would have passed 3-2. So we both voted for it. It was a tough pill to swallow, especially when all our employees' contracts expired in June of this year. Yet they felt the need to secure his through 2027. It's clear who matters and who doesn't in this town. With that in mind, I had seen enough and decided that I needed to work to change this situation so that it never happens again in the future. In late May, I initiated a charter petition to review and potentially revise our town charter. With the help of many, especially Donald Ciccolini, we gathered over 4,300 signatures to get this question on the ballot. Throughout the months it took to achieve this, we spoke to thousands of residents about the possibility of having an elected town manager and the potential of becoming a city. The results were clear. Our people prefer an elected town manager and keeping Saugus a town, only a better town, one that focuses on transparency, accountability, and community. If I'm fortunate enough to be one of the 9 people elected to this committee, this will be one of the things I bring forward for discussion. After speaking with the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State's office, there is nothing in Mass General law that would prohibit this from happening. That said, this vote on Tuesday is just the beginning of a conversation about how we can improve our town. If the vote passes, the Charter Commission will have 2 years to review and potentially revise our charter. The proposed changes will then be brought before you, the voters of Saugus, to decide if this is indeed what we want. If the yes vote passes, and I am fortunate enough to be elected to the Charter Commission, I can assure you that your voices will be heard throughout the entire process. As most of you know, I return every single phone call, every email, and every request of me on social media. I put so much time into this town because I love it here and want to leave this place better than I found it. On Monday night, we had the opportunity to hear from the vote no candidates, the ones that want to deny your voices from being heard. We, on the other hand, represent the vote yes side, and voting yes will ensure that we build a better Saugus together. Allow me to introduce you to our team and let the team share a bit about themselves and why they are running for the Charter Commission. Thank you. First up is Judy Worthley.
Thank you, Anthony. My husband Roger and I have lived in Saugus for 45 years. I love the town and I wanted to do something to help. I've been a town meeting member for 6 years at Precinct 9. I am the secretary of the Council on Aging Board of Directors. I am a very proud member of the American Legion Auxiliary. I also served 2 terms on the Saugus Cultural Council. I have a strong commitment to the community and definitely will always do what's in the best interest of this town.
Thank you, Judy. Next up, we have Mr. Gene Decaro.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm running for the Charter Commission because I believe that we need to change. This charter, as I've said many times, is old. It was formed back in 1948, and it makes a town manager, whomever it is, a dictator. And that has to change. This town has been a wonderful town for me. I grew up in it. I only lived 4 houses from the house I was born in. And I will do anything I can to help the community. I've been a member of the YMCA over 50 years. I was on the board when we bought the land and we built the building. I'm a member of the Saugus Lions Club for 55 years, and I have worked in Little League. I was a manager for 15 years. I have served the community, and I'm still on the town retirement board. We need a change. We don't have to be a city. We can stay a town. But the people should be the ones that are voting for the town manager, not the selectmen. This should be put before the people. This is a community where we need more communication, and I hope to be able to work towards this and make it a much better town. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Next up, we have Mr. Frank Federico.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for hosting this event tonight. I've been a resident of Saugus for the past 8 years. Prior to that, I was born and raised in Malden, although I've had ties to Saugus for most of my life. At 16 years old, I worked right here on Route 1 at Staples. I attended Pope John High School in Everett and had many friends who lived throughout the Saugus community. As far as why I decided to run for Charter Commission, well, Anthony, you're the reason why I decided to run for Charter Commission. I was totally against becoming a city at the beginning of this, and I thought that was the main objective. After speaking to all of the Board of Selectmen, including yourself, doing extensive research, I saw that the Charter Commission would present an amazing opportunity for the town of Saugus. I also learned that your intentions were not, in fact, to change the town to a city, but just to make the town a better place for us to live and for the residents to be more active in our community and our Saugus politics.
Thank you, Frank. And if I could just add to that, I got a call from Frank after the talk of the Charter Commission came out, and Frank called me and said he wanted to sit down and interview me. And I said, of course, I speak to everyone. He took me to the Hammersmith and interviewed me for about 45 minutes, grilled me on what I wanted to do, and I got to tell you, I was very impressed. Frank's a newcomer, and I think he'd be a welcome addition to this town. He certainly puts the effort in.
Thank you, Anthony.
You're welcome. Next, we have Mr. Peter Rossetti.
Good evening. My name is Peter Rossetti Jr. I've been a town meeting member from Precinct 2 for more than 30 years. I'm a lifelong Saugus resident. I've attended schools in Saugus, first starting with the Cliftondale School, then going to the Sweetser School, and then the junior high. And in fact, at the time, the junior high was at the intersection of Central and Winter Street. After that, it had a fire and moved up to the high school in Double Sessions. From there, I went to a place called Brown and Nichols, which is a school in Cambridge. After that, I graduated from Northeastern University, Bentley College, and Mass School of Law up in Andover. I'm presently employed at the Rossetti Insurance Agency in Cliftondale, and I also have a law practice operating out of the same location. I live at 6 Summit Avenue on Baker Hill, and that's where I raised my 3 children. I've served as a member of the Board of Selectmen, 2 years as the chair. I've been on the Board of Appeals for a number of years, a member of the Planning Board, a member of the Saugus Cable TV Board. I've also been a member of the Saugus Business Education Collaborative. Recently we had a very successful trivia night. I'm proud to say I've been the Saugus representative to the Northeast Regional Vocational School for more than 25 years, and I'm very happy to announce that construction on the new school has started. We hope to see more Saugus students coming to the school, learning a trade, and getting good jobs. I've also been a member of the Saugus Lions Club, the Chamber of Commerce, Friends of Breakart, Greater Lynn Senior Services, and Element Care. One of the things that I think is very, very important to know about this Charter Commission, you're being asked to vote for the charter, whether there should be a change or not. But in addition to that, you're also being asked to vote for members of the Charter Commission if it is successful. It's very, very important to understand that you can vote for up to 9 people. However, if you vote for more than 9 people, your entire ballot will be thrown out. So your vote for anyone else, including whether you support or don't support the charter, will be eliminated. So please, please, please do not vote for more than 9. If you do, your ballot will be invalidated. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Mr. Tony Speziali.
Thank you, Anthony. So, my name is Anthony Speziali. I've been a resident with my wife Karen for 27 years. Both my children attended the Saugus school system, starting from elementary and right through to graduating high school over here at Saugus High. I've also been a longtime business owner with my office here in Saugus, and many of you know it, it's the Tax Shop and Financial Center. Now, with that said, I have a background, an extensive financial background. I worked at Putnam Investments, I worked at Fidelity Investments, and also I am a licensed enrolled agent, tax accountant. So with this, I would like to help, and I believe I can help the town of Saugus. But now the reason why I entered into the race is when the signatures went out to make it a ballot question, I heard a lot of polarizing opinions, and there was a lot of hidden aspirations. Saugus is going to become a city. We're going to lose our total independence. So instead of making an uneducated opinion, I decided to get involved and just see what's up. And just going with what has been said and just looking at the environment, plus also a very outdated charter, I decided to enter the race, and hopefully with my background and with the help of all the others that are on this panel and the other panel, that we can make Saugus a better town. And that's what this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, and I want to tell you, you've been a welcome addition to the Moving Saugus Forward Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Next, we have Ms. Laurie Gallivan.
Thank you, Anthony. My name is Laurie Gallivan. I have lived in Saugus for 23 years. I've been an educator for 26 years, and I'm proud to say I spent a good chunk of time here in the Saugus Public Schools as part of the Saugus educational community, a time that I'm very proud of. And I don't have all the town accolades as my colleagues here, but I think that that's a good thing right now. I know that there have been comments made about newcomers not having a seat at this table, and I think that that's wrong. I think just because you're a newcomer doesn't mean you don't have a great sense of wealth to offer to this conversation. And so I think that I do bring that to the table. I think I bring a very unbiased opinion right now. I'm very open-minded. I am ready to attack whatever it is that the commission thinks is going to make the best decisions for Saugus to move us forward in the right direction according to today's world that we're living in into these times. I think that that's a big piece of why I'm running, because I'm not so tied as everybody thinks they need to be. I think we need some fresh perspective, and I believe that I bring that to the table. So thank you.
Thank you, Laurie, and I'm so happy to have you here to bring that educational expertise that you have to the commission.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Last, we have Tom Travis.
My name is Tom Travis. I've been a town meeting member for 10 years. I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals I've served as chairman of the town manager's economic development committee. I'm on the disabilities commission, and I've served on a number of other boards that I won't get into. I love the town of Saugus. It's my town. It's my daughter's town. It's my grandchildren's town. We're not going anywhere. When I first heard about rethinking a charter commission, my first feeling was, oh no, not a city. Well, it's not a city. We can be a town and have an elected town manager. And I think that would give us accountability, and I think that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Just with a quick show of hands, I think the other side is hanging the hat on the fact that I said that I wanted to make Saugus a city last December and run for mayor. With a quick show of hands, how many people here want to make Saugus a city? So I guess we can put that rumor to rest right now.
Andy, could I add something?
Sure, go right ahead.
too? I find it quite ironic that the Vote No group were the leaders of the last charter commission. They were the leaders who wanted charter change. Now they're ironically on the complete opposite side, saying we don't need any change. And we could give example after example after example of that. But the chairman, the vice chairman, 3 or 4 members, they're all of the Vote No group are all completely switched. Now we don't need charter change. I just find that quite ironic.
Yeah, and if you look back from 2007, I think most of the ideas that I like for our charter change came from Selectman Michael Serino. He had some great ideas.
Absolutely.
Staggered elections, less power to the manager, all appointments done by the selectmen. He had some great ideas, and somewhere along the way he lost those. So, perhaps he could bring those back and understand that those were right then, and they're still right today. But make no mistake, you hit the nail on the head with that. They were all in favor of it, and now they're all against it. And it's unfortunate, because we all want to move the town forward, and we should all be looking in the same direction and give the power back to the people.
May I?
Yeah, Gene, sure you can.
What is ironic is that the other group are all against the charter, but they all are running for the charter commission. So the charter, if they get voted in, they can disrupt it. That's not progress. I believe that they're hiding something. They must have something that they're hiding, and they do not want change and will do anything to stop it. Thank you.
Well, if you look at it, take a step back and look at it, they're trying to protect the clubhouse. Right now, they have control of the clubhouse, and they don't want to give that up. And whether it's they're in with the town manager, they're in with friends or family members that work for the town, they're just trying to protect that and take that power away from the people and keep it for themselves. And that's not what this is all about. So
And I think, if I may,
go right ahead.
that's why we're trying to bring this to the voters, because we want the voters to decide, are you happy with the status quo, or do we want to see meaningful change throughout our communities?
Thanks, Frank.
Anthony?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
When the charter change was proposed about 10 years ago, I was opposed to it. And the slogan that we used to prevail was "Keep Saugus a Town." That's the exact same slogan that's being used by the people who were the proponents of that. At the time that it was proposed 10 years ago, we were told it was going to be a city. Not only was it going to be a city, we were told how many aldermen there would be, what the aldermen's salaries would be, how the government would function as a city. There was no discussion whatsoever about it remaining a town. That's the thing that's changed. This proposal now is to have a charter change, but to remain a town. That's what we want to emphasize. Thank you.
And just to add to that, if you look back, we got an opinion from town council maybe 3 months ago that you could not run for selectmen and run for charter commission at the same time, because they were clearly, as the charter defines, they were clearly 2 townwide offices. And I took that opinion to the Secretary of State's office, because I know the charter commission is not a townwide position. It's governed by the state. So I appealed his decision, and the Secretary of State overruled him, which allowed me and several other members of the Board of Selectmen who said they couldn't run in 2007 because it wasn't approved. I got that changed, and I'm glad to see that they jumped in and decided to run as well. So you have 3 selectmen running for Charter Commission. Again, following my lead, but, you know, I'm not the person who just takes something face value and relies on it. I want to make sure that's correct, and with this position, I knew that wasn't the right interpretation of it, so I went to the Secretary of State, and here we are. So, having said that, we'll go to first round of questions. Our first question is for Judy. Judy, if the charter passes, what is one benefit you would like to see explored?
Well, we have over 1,200 veterans in the town of Saugus. Being a member of the auxiliary at the American Legion, I've had the opportunity to talk to many of these veterans. Saugus does not have veterans housing development. Many of them are very much in need of that kind of facility. They are economically challenged, and I would like to see, if and when, hopefully the Charter Commission will be formed, I'd like to see that looked at. I think we can, if we're going to support anybody, it's got to be our veterans, and I'm not sure that this town does a really good job of that.
Well, I can attest to you that we don't. And we have plenty of open schools right now to explore that possibility. I know there were initial discussions on what we're going to do with the schools, but, you know, we need to get the jumper cables out and start figuring out where we're going to go with that, because everything's kind of stagnated. But there are several places we could put veterans housing. You know, veterans housing is going to be one of those things that everybody wants, but they don't want it in my neighborhood. So we're going to have to find the right neighborhood, but us veterans certainly deserve that.
We have some available places.
Oh, we have many. We have many. We just got to get moving in the right direction and figure out what's going to go where.
Right.
So thank you, Judy. For the next question, Chairman Mike Serino brought up the point, and I quote, "Right now, there are a lot of people running for Charter Commission, proposing a change to the charter. I don't even know who they are. I've never seen them before. They've never been involved in town government, and they want to run for this office, and they want to run for this office and change our charter. I think it's dangerous, quite frankly. Do you feel a statement like this deters new candidates from running for positions in town, and why do you think voter turnout is slowly diminishing?" This question is for Frank.
I can't put enough emphasis on this. I absolutely feel a statement from a sitting Board of Selectmen deters so many potential amazing candidates throughout our town and community to run for office. I don't think it should matter if you start at the bottom, the middle, or the top. Everybody can contribute, everybody has a say, and everybody has a voice. Again, for a Board of Selectmen member to try to stifle somebody from running for the Board of Selectmen, for the Charter Committee, for the Board of Selectmen, for any of the appointed positions in town, it doesn't sit right with me. It's not an easy decision to decide to run for any elected position. And a statement like that just makes it even more difficult. Everybody says on the no side, they want more people involved in the community. They want more people running for town office. And then in the next breath, one of the selectmen come out and say something like that, deterring so many potentially amazing candidates for our town. As far as voting being on the decline, I've spoken to so many people over the past 4 or 5 years about why they don't get out and vote. And the thing that I've heard the most is people don't feel like they have their voice being heard anymore. I personally can't think of a better way to have the residents of Saugus's voice be heard than having an elected town manager. Why do 5 members on the Board of Selectmen get to decide who the town manager is when we have approximately 20,000 registered voters in the community? Let's give it back to the voters. Let's cut out the middleman, and let's give the residents of Saugus the voice they deserve.
Thank you, Frank. And just to add to that, I was that kid. You know, I was younger than you when I first ran for selectman. I was 25 years old. And I can remember Bob Long was actually on the board at that time, it was 1991, and he told me that, you have to start out with town meeting, you have to get your feet wet and learn what's going on, and of course, I didn't listen to him. I ran for selectman. I met with plenty of leaders in the community at the time, Christy Serino, Peter Rossetti, and I prepped myself on how to prepare for a debate. I remember Peter giving me several questions that the business community may ask, Christy Serino telling me how many questions that Save would ask, and back then we actually had debates. We actually had to know what was going on. The questions were pulled out of a hat, people stood up in the audience and asked questions. We had debates at condo developments, so you had to be on top of your game. And not only did I do well that year, I knocked Bob off the board and came in over Peter. So I think that a newcomer certainly has a place in this town, as I've shown that, and I think somebody like Frank and somebody like Donald Ciccolini and someone like Tony and someone like Laurie certainly have a lot to add to this community, and I'm proud of all of you for stepping up and running. So thank you all.
Well, if I can just make a couple of points on that. Now, yes, I'm new to politics into the town, and a few others are, but I'm also involved in the community through a lot of organizations. The Saugus Lions Club, the SBEC. I was part of the Belmonte Track Association. I was a Cub Master, and I'm currently the treasurer of the Meg Foundation and the SBEC. So to say that we don't have experience, we still have the pulse of the town through our volunteering. And there are a lot of people in our community that have that. Yet, to have it just continue to be, or just trying to squash some of this, I don't feel is right. And so, I'm standing before you now, yes, I know the pulse of the town, I don't know the politics of it, but that's why I'm involved, is to get involved and just help out and making any educational recommendations that I can. But also, too, as we also heard it said, that to elect a town manager is considered a popularity contest instead of choosing the right candidates. Well, I'm sorry, but that actually kind of deters the capability of the Saugus voters, that they're not capable of choosing the right candidate. And I'm sorry, I disagree with that.
Thank you, Tony. Next, we have Peter Rossetti. Peter, what is your thought on staggered elections?
Staggered elections are an important component of the possible new charter. The reason for that is because it allows for institutional knowledge to be passed on and not completely eliminated. A few years ago, we had a recall election. During that recall, 4 out of the 5 selectmen were replaced. That was a tremendous amount of knowledge that benefited the town that we lost. The same thing could happen with other boards that are elected, school committee, housing, various other ones. You can't afford to have that happen. You have to have people who have knowledge of what the procedures are supposed to be, how government is supposed to work. As a result of that, if you have staggered elections, it would take a few years to institute it. You'd have to start people with a 1-year term, some would have a 2-year term, some would have a 3-year term. Eventually, everyone would have a 3-year term. That would also encourage new people to become involved in town government, because they wouldn't necessarily be running against 4 or 5 incumbents. They could run against 1 or 2 incumbents, and it opens the field up. It's very important to have that knowledge continue. So I think staggered elections would be a good start and something that would be valuable to the town.
If you look back at that recall election too, no one benefited more from that than the manager, because he got to train 4 people on the Board of Selectmen as to what their role was, when it's usually the other way around. The Board of Selectmen is supposed to be in control and the boss of the town manager, and it clearly was not the case back then. I think they all came in and did a fine job. I give all props to Selectman Jeff Ciccolini. He's certainly I've served for 14 years. He's one of the best that I've ever served with as far as knowledge, but he was on the job training for him. Some people can do it, some people it takes a little time, but it certainly benefited the town manager during that period of time because he showed them the ropes. Tom, There are over 700 signs in town that say, "Vote yes." Some signs are starting to pop up that say, "Vote no, keep Saugus a town." Do you think this is an accurate statement? And what are your thoughts on this?
I think that's inaccurate, because I know all, as we've already discussed, all the yes people want to remain a town also. I love town meeting, okay? That's where it stops for me. When people talk about going into a city, and I said, not if we're gonna lose town meeting. Town meeting has 50 members, and they're 50 different people. And it's a mirror of our town. I mean, we have plumbers, we have carpenters, we have teachers, we have lawyers, we have accountants. They're all there. There's nothing like that town meeting. For us to lose town meeting would be losing the fiber of the town. And there's no way, I think, any of us would want to see town meeting go away. But to have the head of our government actually be accountable every 4 years or so, and to also have town meeting, I just think will just work out great.
Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
If I can add to that.
Yeah, Frank.
So I think we all do have the same philosophy for town meeting. I think it is the fiber of Saugus. However, I do think we can make changes to it. Maybe not specifically in town meeting, maybe in town meeting. One of the things that I would personally like to see is once town meeting allocates money for a budget, what happens to that? Can town meeting then follow up? Let's put a system in place that either develops a time limit or some type of follow-up committee. Right now, funding that town meeting allocates for, say, a fire station committee or a fire station research project, that can go months, if not years, without even being acted on. So, as you said, Tom, I do think town meeting is one of the best forms of governments, but I also think we can improve upon that.
Always.
Thank you, Frank. Gene, next question's for you. The vote no candidates say that the town manager answers to the Board of Selectmen. In your experience with the present town manager, is this an accurate statement?
That is not an accurate statement. In my opinion, town manager does what he wants, when he wants, the way he wants. Under this system and the way we have it right now, with the Board of Selectmen, he has 3 people that are his boys or what girl. They rubber stamp it, and that's wrong. That's why he becomes a dictator. You cannot have a situation where 3 people are controlling over 30,000 people. That's wrong. It should be up to the community, the people that live here to do voting. It's up to the people that have to live day in and day out and pay the taxes. They should be able to pick the town manager, not the selectmen. It's wrong, and I'm against it, and I'm for everybody putting it out to the people. This is how you work. You work with people.
Well, as the present chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I can assure you that the town manager certainly does not answer to me and doesn't answer to the board. You know, we've gone through the last couple of months with the cannabis hearings, and the manager took his committee, and they spent 9 months reviewing the applicants, put together a packet for the board to review with their determinations as to who the best candidates were and why. And all I did was simply ask, can you go over that report with us? I said, I just need to understand how you come up with some of those things, because unlike some of the selectmen who just take whatever the manager gives them and it's a rubber stamp and they're going to approve it, I actually do my homework. I went and toured all the places, and in my opinion, their philosophy or their reasoning for what they picked makes no sense at all. So I asked for a meeting with the committee or the manager to sit down with us, and I got a letter back from town council that the manager does not have to give us that information. He did his report. We have to accept the report as face value. Well, according to our outdated town charter, the manager has to attend all Board of Selectmen's meetings, and he has to answer all Board of Selectmen's questions. Perhaps that part of the town charter, they don't have in theirs. I have it in mine. But, you know, I'm not going to proceed with anything until I can sit down and actually have a conversation as to why things are the way they are. But this manager seems to think he doesn't have to. So it's certainly something that doesn't sit well with me, and I'm sure it doesn't sit well with members of the town.
And I think that speaks to the transparency aspect of what we're looking to achieve with the revision of the town charter. Right now, we're asking questions, or you're asking questions, we're not getting the answers. Where's the transparency in that?
Certainly isn't any there. Last, we have Laurie Gallivan. Laurie, with your background in education, can you please explain to us how a charter review will benefit our school system?
Well, I'd like to start by agreeing with what Peter was talking about in regard to staggered elections. In education, growth in education is contingent on allowing well-founded educational programming to grow and to expand and to allow people to see what's working. And you set a path, you have a superintendent come in, you choose an educational plan or a program, and you want to see how it develops, and you want to give teachers the opportunity to, offer the opportunity to students to have these programs instituted with fidelity and to see what grows. Without some type of staggered elections, you run the chance of having programming and change every 2 years. And that's not healthy for educators, it's not healthy for a community, and it's certainly not healthy for students. So I do think that the staggered elections would be a welcome change. I also am of the mindset, and again, I'm really open-minded, I really want to see where things go and what the possibilities are, but I would consider, looking at expanding the school committee, maybe instead of the 5-person board that we have now, looking at a 6-person board, with the 7th person being the town manager. Whether the town manager is elected or appointed, having them be the 7th seat at that table, who votes only in the event of a tie. This will tie together the town, the community, the schools, much more than it does now. There won't be any surprises come budget season. There won't be any questions about, chargeback balances at the end of the school year. Everything will be up front and known from the start. And it gives the opportunity for the town manager to get to know what's really needed in the schools on a daily basis, not just when we're coming looking for something, right? I spent 7 years in the Saugus Public Schools as a principal and as a executive director, and we have a beautiful brand new school, beautiful. And I see a lot of comments on social media about, you can't just build a school and expect education to change. There was a massive educational report that was written for the MSBA. I know because I personally, physically was in charge of that report and wrote that report, so I know everything that's in it. I worked with the high school principal, the middle school principal, I worked with all the elementary principals, but I compiled that report. So I know what the expectations are, and you can't expect teachers and educators to be able to carry out what's in that report if you're not supporting them and giving them what they need. And I think if the town manager was involved on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis with the school committee, they would have a much clearer picture of what was needed for our schools to be successful. And I think that those are things that we may be able to change with a review of the charter.
Thank you, Laurie.
Boy, I would like to say
Sure,
that.
jump right in.
That sounds so good, Laurie. I don't think I've ever looked at it that way, but him being involved with the schools, that person being involved with the schools would open up their eyes, and it would be there would be no hearsay. There would be on-the-job learning. So that really sounds like an excellent suggestion.
Laurie, let me ask you this. I hate to throw you a curveball, but
sure.
I see so many great educators leaving Saugus, yourself included, Mrs. Howard, certainly John Bernard, who went on to be the superintendent in North Reading, and John Macero. Why is it that these great educators and these Saugonians leave here?
I can't speak for anyone other than myself. I think, a lot of it's about timing, it's about leadership, it's about what's going on at the time and what's being supported. In education, you're always looking to deliver for students whatever it is that you can. And it's, a lot of times in education, it's taking the very little that you have and trying to stretch it, right? And sometimes it gets frustrating. And you can't continue to ask for the same things over and over again. When I was first in administration here, we had coaches and, we had layers for a while. And slowly, as the budgets got stripped, so did all those positions. And that's not fair to teachers because there's no support for them in the classroom. So you can't expect them to deliver for kids if they don't have what they need. And I don't take away from what the school committees over the years have tried to do. They try. You can't manufacture money. We'd all be happy and in jail. But, it's important. It's really important to work together to be able to expand the opportunities. And if the town manager who has access to all kinds of potential grant opportunities and things that he or she may or may not know could be linked to the schools would know if they were at that table. And again, it's just one idea, it's one thing to look at, but I think that people leave because of frustration and because sometimes they don't see the opportunity for growth.
Thank you. At this, go ahead, Peter.
One quick comment. The schools don't operate in a vacuum. They're part of the town. We have an activity called Shadow Day, and Shadow Day allows students to go out into the community and experience what work life is like. They follow different people in town, the police chief, the fire chief, business people in town. They get to see what's going on. During the summertime, other departments in town, such as the library, take a learning role, and they work with the younger children. They have programs for summer activities for them. So the schools have to work with the town. It's very important that they be treated as part of the town and not a separate entity. Under the present system, it doesn't seem like that's the case. They're not being included, and they should be. It would benefit the students in town, it would benefit the public, and it would certainly benefit the school system.
Thank you, Peter.
I'd actually
Go right ahead,
if you don't
Frank.
mind. I just want to take a minute to thank the teachers in the Saugus public schools. The leadership has been lacking, and we have some of the most amazing teachers. My godson currently goes to the vets right now, and I've met some of the teachers there. I've heard stories through his mother of how amazing the teachers are. For us to not give the leadership, and these teachers still do so much with so little, I can only imagine once we actually fix the issues with the leadership and with the handoff between the town manager and the school committee, there's no reason why our community won't be in the top 10% of schools. We have some of the best teachers that care more about children than anybody I've ever met in my life.
Thank you very much, Frank.
And
Tony.
it also keeps the enrollment up, so where Saugus residents will send their children to the Saugus schools instead of spending quite a bit of money into a private school. And it all starts with that. So I mean, it keeps the enrollment up. More programs are going. I guess even with sports and other extracurricular activities, very important to do that.
It's, if you mind,
Right in.
it speaks volumes to our schools when one of the school committee members won't even send his children to Saugus Public Schools. And like you said, it'll keep those numbers up. People will want to come to our town. They'll want to buy homes in our town. Everybody looking for houses, the first thing they ask is the school district.
Yeah.
And we can do better for our community, we can do better for our students, and we can certainly do better for our teachers.
Thank you, Frank. At this point in time, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Welcome back to the Moving Saugus Forward Forum. Our next round of, we'll start our second round of questions now. To the yes candidates, Tony, in your opinion, why do we need a commission to review our town charter? The no vote candidates argue that a commission can be appointed by town meeting every 3 to 5 years. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on this is, when you're talking about a review, you need to have an independent body. That's how it works. Therefore, you have somebody like on the outside looking in and not anybody tied to the government situation. That's what a review is. But the thing is, first, we're here today because it hasn't been done. Why hasn't it been done in a while? I don't know. Anything is like, if you look at your own personal situation, such as your wills, such as a trust, such as your financial records, you are reviewing those, or you should be reviewing those every so often, and that's what I tell my clients. This is the same thing, only we're talking about the government. But again, I'm going back to like, why hasn't it been done in the first place? And secondly, if the town meeting is going to appoint the review, where's the independence on that? And therefore, you're going to have involved parties. And now, again, we're doing that because pretty much you were pushed into it. If this was done on a periodic basis, we wouldn't have the need for it. And again, it's not that costly to somebody to come in or some company to come in and just take a review on it. And fourth, I know there was the comment made that it cost $100,000 to have this put on the ballot, but we already have an election going on. So if someone can explain to me how this is more costly, where there's already an election going on, just so we have a ballot question and we have candidates running for this commission position. So now, consider this too. Let's take the town manager out of the equation, like whoever it is. Still, with any type of a business, or there's always going to be checks and reviews just to make sure that things are running on up and to avoid problems going forward. So whether you're talking about, regardless of who the manager is or not, it makes perfect business sense and it makes government sense. And that's why we need to do that. We need to be in a position to actually to take advantage and be prepared for any future events, or also be prepared to adapt with the times. That's really all it is. It is not about becoming a city. It's not about being a prelude to a city or eliminating town positions. It is a review to do what's best for Saugus, and that's what we're here for. Thank you.
If I could just add to that too, Tony, it's going back to the same proponents of the Charter Commission back in 2007. A lot of the things that I'd like to see done here today were things they proposed, like staggered elections. The only reason they're saying that you can do it through town meeting today is because they're on the opposite side of this. They look for anything they can to discredit what we're trying to do. And in fact, what you said, this is the independent way to do it. You know, I went out and gathered the signatures. I got an independent people running for the commission. It's not an appointment of town meeting. This is the correct way to do it, and this is the way we're going to proceed with it. So thank you, Tony.
To touch on what Tony said, forming the Charter Commission and just reviewing our town charter for efficiency and efficiency alone, a more efficient government will save the taxpayers dollars. So at that point, why wouldn't we just look at how our government's operating? The cost savings from creating a more efficient town government could offset the charter altogether. If not, give us a surplus that we can put back into the community, that we can give to the schools, that we can fix the buildings that are having issues with rot damage. There's so many ways that we can bring our community together if we had more money, and going through the charter may give us some of those solutions.
Thank you, Frank. Next question we have for Gene. Gene, if you could make one improvement to the town charter, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. I think the best way for the town charter to move forward is to elect a town manager. Have the charter changed so we can, the people will elect the town manager, not appointed by the Board of Selectmen. We must get the people in the town involved. The more they're involved, the more that we're going to accomplish. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. And I truly believe that would excite the people. Because I believe there's a lot of people in town right now that have no idea how the manager even gets to his spot. They don't know that he's appointed. They don't know if he's elected. I talk to a lot of people who think I'm the town manager. They just don't know. They're just not. It's amazing. I had an event I told people to come to the town hall, and they asked me what the address of it was. So that just goes to show you that there's so many people that are disengaged from our government. And this would certainly be something that gets people excited again about being in town politics.
But if you also involve the residents and also make them a part of the charter changes, you're going to get a lot of ideas that may have gotten overlooked that had happened in the past. And I bet with that, you're going to have an increase in voter turnout because now they feel more part of the government.
I can tell you, as far as voter turnout in 1991, I believe I got 2,400 votes in 1991, and that was good for third place. In 2021, I got 2,400 votes and came in first place, and we probably have about 10,000 more people, at least 6,000 more people now than we had in 1991. That just goes to show you how bad our turnout is. People just are disengaged, and we have to correct that. And I think with people like yourself and Frank and Laurie, that brings a new excitement. There's new people that want to get involved and interested in town government. It's a big step. I'm happy that the Charter Commission brought out 27 people interested in running. It shows that there's people interested in getting the town moving again.
Absolutely.
I think it's also going to bring out more voters.
I hope so.
They're more energized. There's more discussion going on. So I think it's going to, hopefully, your vote total will be higher.
There's a lot of people that come to Saugus, and they come from Revere, and Everett, and Malden, and Medford, in East Boston. They're used to having a mayor.
Yes.
They're used to having a head of government. They don't understand our system. What do you mean you got a town manager? How do you become a town manager? They're ready. I think Saugus is ready for an elected head of government.
For me personally, an elected head of government creates a competition. It gives candidates, 2, 3, 4 candidates, the option to compete to prove to the residents that they are the best for the community. They'll do more for the community. They'll be more active in the community. And that brings everybody together. That creates almost like a frenzy that gets people involved in their government because they want to see their candidate succeed. So let's have a competition. Let's get the best candidate and let's vote on that candidate for a town manager.
Yeah, and listening to the vote no side the other night, they think that a town manager elected would be nothing more than a popularity contest. And I just think they think the people in town are stupid, that they're just going to vote for someone that's popular. I think people are well educated enough to know who the leaders of the community are and would certainly pick the right choice. And make no mistake, Scott Crabtree could run for town manager if we go to that point. And judging by their reviews of him, I'm sure he would fare quite well. They have him, doing exceptional work at a lot of things. I'm sure Scott would be a valid candidate for it, and I'm sure he'd do quite well. So just to come out and say it's nothing more than a popularity contest, that's just a slap in the face to most of them. They're elected officials. It wasn't a popularity contest for them. So, next question I have is for Peter. Peter, you served on many committees in this town. As a former chairman of the planning board, what's different about the planning board today? When was the last time the board had a full contingency? And in your opinion, is the board an independent board?
When I was appointed to the planning board, first of all, members of the planning board serve at the pleasure of the manager. He is the appointing authority. It is not the Board of Selectmen. When I first joined the board, I joined as an alternate member. An alternate member attends the meetings but does not participate in the meetings. After a year or two, I was promoted to a member of the board, and shortly after that, I became the chairman of the board. The board itself consists of 5 members, and it's supposed to have at least 1 alternate. At the present time, I believe the board has 4 members. The chairman is supposed to direct the meeting and control the meeting. The present time, the chairman doesn't generally do that. He tends to defer to one of the other board members, which is not the way it's supposed to go. Towards the end of my time on the planning board, we were receiving scripts as to what was going to happen at the meeting. The scripts were prepared for us by outside counsel who was approved by the town manager. They would send us a list, usually a week or 2 in advance of a meeting, as to what questions should be asked, what the anticipated answers would be, and we were even given what our decision should be. This was before the meeting occurred. Obviously, that's not the way it's supposed to work. I was criticized because I didn't follow the script. One of the things that was requested on a regular basis was that we have town council attend the meetings so that if a legal question came up, we would be able to get an answer, and it wouldn't be necessary to put off a decision while we await for an answer on potentially a simple question. We also had asked repeatedly to have the town planning department, whether it's the coordinator or whoever, attend our meetings. And I was told, no, we couldn't have that. I approached the planning director themselves and asked them if they would attend, and was told they weren't allowed to attend or to have an opinion unless it had been cleared first. So is the board an independent board? No, it is not independent. It's been operating with a reduced number of people at the present time. It doesn't seem to be functioning well. Some of the cases that were there when I was on the board 2 years ago are still before the board and have not been decided. You have board members sitting on hearings that they absolutely should not be sitting on. They should recuse themselves because they're direct abutters to some of the projects. So, is it a good way to do business? No. Saugus does not have a very good reputation in the community, not the Saugus community, but in the business community, because Saugus is not considered a good town to do business with. We have some very, very good people in the inspectional service department. The building inspector and others in that department try to work with people, but it's very, very difficult because they have certain directions as to what they're supposed to do. And quite honestly, it slows down progress. You're seeing a number of vacancies on Route 1 and other parts of town. It's going to create more problems as we go on, because at some point, Saugus operates under a dual taxation system. One tax rate for the business community, one tax rate for the residential community. The business community is 175% of the residential tax rate, but that's predicated on there being a ratio of residents to businesses. If that ratio is not maintained, then you can only have one tax rate. If that's the case, the residential tax rate is going to increase dramatically. So if you do not change the system and try to encourage more business investment in the community, it's going to come back to haunt someone at some point in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Peter. Up next, we're going to Frank Federico. What are some things around town that you feel represent the state of our government? And how does forming a charter commission help resolve these issues?
So recently I spent one of my days visiting areas of concern that many residents have brought to my attention through Facebook, through in person, things of that nature. I've traveled to the Senior Center, the American Legion, Stalker Field, and many more parks and playgrounds around the community, all of which require some attention, whether it be small or major. Stalker Field, I went there, I took photos, I put them up on Facebook. The basketball court was completely underwater. The basketball court was atrocious, in lack of a better term. The baseball field had glass all over it. I don't know how we would expect children to go to these fields and feel safe. And it's just something that, as a Saugus resident, I'm ashamed of. I honestly think one way to explore fixing these issues, as I kind of alluded to before, have an extensive follow-up through town meeting to see where the money allocated for certain projects, such as new playgrounds, new parks, cleaning and maintaining our facilities, actually goes once it's allocated. Right now, I've asked so many people, and nobody's given me any type of answer other than it's in limbo. And why aren't we spending this money? Why aren't we providing a quality playground for our children to play in? Granted, we have put forward some new playgrounds and we've done a great job with that, but we're still lacking tremendously. I mean, if we look at the Golden Hills playground, somebody just mentioned to me today, they haven't gone there in the 20 years or 30 years that they lived there and actually maintained the property. Now, that's their opinion of it. I don't know if that's true, but when I went to Golden Hills, it was covered in leaves. There was trash all over the place. It's not some place, if I had children, I would want to bring my children. It's not some place that I would want to bring my godson. Checking the town charter specifically, again, as I alluded to previously, will determine if there's any inefficiencies in government. It will determine if we can save money anywhere else. Every dollar in Saugus should be accounted for and easily visible to our residents. If we can find $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 every year in savings, well, we can update all our playgrounds. We can do so much good becoming a more efficient government. And a charter review is the first step. It's essentially the constitution of our community. And I think we can do better.
Thanks, Frank. Next, I'd like to go to Tom. Tom, what is something you'd like to see the Charter Commission review or found?
As I mentioned before, I'd like to see a separation of powers. I mean, I think there's too much power in the manager's office, not enough with the selectmen. Laurie's idea about adding the manager to the school committee, I think would work out tremendously. That's the biggest, but the authority has to be shifted. Right now, it's a point of absurdity that the manager has so much power, and he's not even elected by the people. He's elected by basically you got two selectmen control him, have control of that board, then they're all set. And that's what has to change. I mean, we need charter review. And I mean, I don't want to lose our focus. This is about voting yes on Tuesday.
Thank you, Tom. Judy, did you get involved in this charter election process to make Saugus a city?
Absolutely not. I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of residents in the community. I'm a talker. And listening to them, I was really surprised. Many said it was time to look at a charter. Didn't know a lot about it, but thought, well, you should review documents. It's what I did in my professional career. So I did speak with different people and decided that I would get involved, certainly not to make it a city, just because people said it was time. If the community's saying to me it's time, then And I like being involved. I really want to do what's best for this community. I love it. And I think the thing that really inspired me was learning that if the charter comes to pass and is voted in, the opportunity for the residents to have meetings with the commission, expressing their views and their likes and dislikes, it's wonderful that they will have more of an involvement in their town government. I think that's a good thing. It could never be a bad thing. Anytime you involve the residents, it's a good thing. So that, I absolutely did not get involved to make it a city.
Thank you, Judy.
I'd like to add something
Sure,
to
go
what
ahead.
Judy said. So, in my opinion, there's really no downside. There's no downside to forming the charter committee, because all a yes vote does is open the door to a question. At the end of the 2 years, whatever recommendations set forth by the charter commission, they get to get voted on by the residents of Saugus.
Absolutely.
So if you don't like the recommendations, you can choose not to adopt them. But at least let's have the conversation to see what recommendations there are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Last question is for Laurie. Laurie, earlier you spoke about the way our charter could impact our schools. Could you elaborate on how this could impact overall student safety and well-being?
Well, going back to what Frank said earlier and other people have mentioned, I know firsthand the wonderful educators that are here in Saugus, not just the educators, but the staff and a lot of the administrators. They're great, dedicated people who love Saugus, and many, many, many are from Saugus. And that's a testament when you stay in the town where you live to be an educator, because that's never easy for anybody. And so, they love their students. They want their students to be safe, and they want to go to work every day and be safe. And I think that this idea of connecting with the town manager, being more upfront and accountable, working more closely with the schools, would help tie in the work with the police and fire. We know the police and the fire departments are, they're poised and ready to help all the time. And, I support the fire and the West Side Fire Station. I support the police having everything they need, and I know they support the kids of Saugus having what they need to be successful. And I think that would open the door for, better working daily relationships with the police and fire. Having the town manager who oversees those boards and works so closely with the chiefs to tie that all together. There should be, and I don't know exactly what goes on right now, but I would hope that there are regular threat assessment team meetings and trainings that include police and fire and counselors and administrators in the district. And I know I've seen a lot of comments on social media about SROs and why we don't have our SROs in the schools in Saugus, school resource officers. And I can tell you firsthand, there are plenty of grants out there that are safety combined grants with community and schools to put SROs in the buildings. The Department of Education has a memorandum of understanding that is a general template that most of the schools that have SROs and participate in some of these safety grants use to make it very clear what the school resource officer's role is in the schools and how they're meant to work with the community. So I think that starting those conversations, getting more people to the table, and inviting some of the educators who are dealing with these things every day to be members of those teams is a really important move for Saugus. And if they are doing some of that now, I applaud them and would love to see it continue and get deeper. I just haven't heard much about any of that going on, and I know that we don't have SROs right now, and there is the opportunity and there is the funding right now in school security, for sure.
Thank you very much, Laurie. At this time, I would like to go to some of our call-in questions. We have Sandro Souza here, who's answering the phone. Sandro, if you give us our first question, and this is up to anybody here that would like to answer it. Go ahead, Sandro.
Yes, we have Andrew Venicutis. He's asking, I know most candidates would like to see us stay at town, but what, if any, benefit would there be if we became a city? Would it be worth entertaining the city idea?
Well, I can take that. I think the the focus here is on forming the Charter Commission first. Once the Charter Commission is formed, we will explore every possible avenue. I'm sure there's going to be people that have thoughts about changing certain things and changing other things. Our primary focus here today, as every candidate up here has said, that we'd like to see us stay a town with an elected town manager. That doesn't mean that other people won't get elected to the committee and have different ideas. So when I stated at the beginning that if I'm one of the candidates to get elected, I'm going to listen to everything the residents have to say. And if that's something that the residents bring forward, we will certainly entertain it. I don't think that's our focus today. But again, this is about forming a committee that is willing to listen to the people and take the people's perspective and their ideas and investigate it. I'm not sure that that's something that this board wants to do, but, we don't know who the committee is going to be. And I just hope I'm one of them, and we'll be able to work with anyone that gets elected, and we'll address everything the residents bring forward.
Thank you. Our next question is from Robert J. Camuso, Sr. Do you support town employees running for elected positions and voting on money articles at town meeting? At the very least, why aren't these paid town employees abstaining from these conflicts of interest votes?
I wouldn't mind taking that one, actually.
Go ahead, Frank.
So, Bob, to make your point, there's about 26% of town meeting members that, as some have stated, I did the math last night, that either have family that's paid by the town or are on town payroll. In addition to that, there are anywhere between 5 to about 15 to 20 people that may be absent. I'm not a fan personally of having someone on Saugus payroll making decisions for a department that they may be involved in. I would like to see them recuse themselves. That's something that I personally would like to explore if elected to the Charter Commission. I do think there's a conflict of interest there. From my outside knowledge of town meeting, I see it that way. I would like to gather more information and see what type of conflicts arise, but yes, I do feel like there is a conflict of interest having paid employees on town meeting.
I just want to make a comment on that too. I think there are some town employees that are very good town meeting members. Okay, they're more than one.
Yeah.
I think that a town meeting member who has any type of a salary issue or something should be recusing themselves from that vote. That goes without saying. And I've seen too much of that over the last few years. Even members of committees, school committees and such have, here we have school committee members voting on issues and they have relatives that are teaching in the school system. There's something, they should be recusing themselves from those votes. But the courts have said that, town employees are citizens also, and they have a right to be at town meeting. And I really feel there are some really good ones, and some take advantage of the situation, but that can be but people do that. So I can't see an out-and-out ban on it. Peter?
Town meeting members have a specific provision that exempts them from a conflict of interest. That doesn't necessarily mean that ethically they shouldn't abstain from voting on a budget where they're directly involved. And as Tom said, there's a number of town meeting members who have served many, many years on town meeting and who are excellent town employees and who bring knowledge from their departments into town meeting. But again, sometimes what we're seeing are people who are town employees being encouraged to become town meeting members because they can vote on certain issues. And that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't have people who are being instructed to become town meeting members because their vote can be counted on in a certain manner. So,
I think we saw that with the Clippendale Square vote, for sure.
Yeah.
But it certainly happens throughout the town. Sandro?
So the next question comes from Gary Iturondo. How do we vote out the town manager?
Well, again, it just goes to show you that Gary's a great guy. Known Gary a long time. A lot of people don't know our present form of government, and a lot of people think the town manager is elected. The town manager is appointed, like I said, by a 4/5 vote of the Board of Selectmen, and his contract can be extended by 3 votes. And as long as you have 3 votes on the board, you can write your ticket and stay as long as you want. And I think our present town manager is certainly living proof of that. Not saying that's right or wrong, but I think it definitely, it's what the charter states right now. And that's a primary reason that we're here, because this charter is outdated, and it needs to be modified, and modified for the better. And that benefit only benefits the entire town, because I think 28,000 people selecting a person. I know that I watched the other side tackle this issue, and they said that an elected town manager answers to no one at first, or an elected town manager answers to the donors. And I think that certainly fell flat on its face, because they were thinking that donors were going to control this board. And I think they're presently displeased with the campaign finance report, because they didn't see the donors on it they were looking for. So that dispels that myth. But as far as Gary's question, I think it would benefit tremendously to have one person elected by 28,000 instead of 3 people on the Board of Selectmen. So thanks for your question, Gary.
Our next question comes from Christine D'Souza. My son graduated in 2021, and I just asked him about the shadow project, and he had never heard of it. How do we get that information out to more children? Because I think that is an amazing idea. And in addition to that, she says, for your information, my son was in all AP classes and had a great education at Saugus High. But for those who are not sure of what they wanted to do, a shadow day would be a great idea.
I think we'll give this one to Peter, because he touched on it before.
Shadow Day has been going on for approximately 20-odd years in the Saugus school systems. It's put through, I believe, the guidance department. They bring it to the students. They will put out a notice saying if students want to participate, could they give us an idea of what areas they would be interested in learning about. Obviously, a lot of them want to be policemen, firemen, and shadow the police chief or the fire chief. Some shadow business people. They can shadow anyone they want. The people who run the program then go out into the community and recruit the people that they're going to shadow. As I said, this has been going on for quite a while. It did not happen during the COVID period, which was approximately 2019 to 2021. In 22, we started it up again. At that point, we had approximately 35 to 40 students who went out. Last year, we had more than that. We encouraged them to go to Saugus businesses, but they went as far as Boston, some of them. The students all thought it was a great program. The SBEC, which is the Business Education Collaborative, which is a group of business people and educators who get together to try and make these kind of programs work, encourage that program and encourage the students. It seemed to go over very well with all the students who attended.
Thank you, Peter.
But another point too is,
Sure.
look out for it around middle of March to early April. That's when the shadow program is launched and the actual visitations go out to the businesses and the government.
Yeah.
So just be on the lookout for that.
And I was just going to say, and unfortunately for Christine, who's sending in this question, as Peter just said, 2021, when her son graduated, it wasn't being run because of COVID. So that's probably why he didn't hear. But for all those parents and family members that are listening now, please listen and keep a lookout, like was just mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to give everyone a chance to have a closing argument, a closing statement. We only have 6 minutes to go, so we'll have to be brief. We'll start with Tony.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Saugus TV. And thanks to you, the voters. Tuesday, you've heard both sides. Get out and vote. Now, regardless of what side, I feel that all the candidates have their heart in the right place and they want to do what's best for Saugus. But to those who believe that the commission is still trying to make the town a city, come check us out and just see what it's all about. Even some on the vote no side will most likely get elected. And once they come in, I believe they will find out what we're really truly all about. So you'll see that's going to make Saugus a better town and not a city. And it's an open invitation. So I ask you for one of your 9 votes, and I thank you very much.
Tom, under
Vote.
a minute, please.
Vote yes.
Thank you.
That's the big thing, is vote yes. Get the conversation started.
Judy?
Ditto. Vote yes, and I'd love one of your votes. Thank you.
Hank?
I hope you'll consider me for one of your votes. I do want to take 1 second to mention you have up to 9 votes. Please don't go over the 9 as your entire ballot will be tossed. Thank you for everybody that put this evening together. Thank you.
Gene?
Thank you very much for allowing us to be with you. I asked you for one of your votes. I strongly want to go on and get a charter where we elect the manager. Thank you.
Peter?
I echoed the comments of the other board members asking for a vote. I do want to emphasize, when you vote, do not vote for more than 9 people. If you vote for more than 9, even if it's by mistake, your entire ballot can be thrown out. That means the other offices that you vote for, whether it's town meeting, selectmen, school committee, housing authority, or anything, it will be invalid. You're defeating the purpose if you vote for more than 9. So please, vote yes. I would like one of your votes, but please, 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 do not vote for more than 9.
Laurie?
Just echoing what everybody else said, it's been a great learning experience. I've really enjoyed being a part of this group and getting to learn from all of you. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve on the commission, hopefully, if it is voted through with the yes vote on Tuesday. And I, like the others, ask for one of your votes, and just know that, you know, you're getting somebody who's open-minded, who wants to learn from everybody who's been involved for so long, and want to learn from the residents that hopefully will come out, no matter who's sitting on that commission, to let them know what they'd like to see in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. And I, too, want everyone to go out and vote yes. I mean, this was a long process to get it to this point. I'm excited for Tuesday. I think we've certainly put the time and effort in. You got to hear from all of us. Everyone up here wants to make Saugus the best town it can be. I just want to reassure to the residents and to the voters who our committee is. And it is me, Anthony Cogliano, Peter Rossetti, Laurie Gallivan, Judy Worthley, Frank Federico, Gene Decaro, Tom Travers, Donald Ciccolini, Julie Mitchell, Bob Camuso, Anthony Speziali, Chris Tarantino, and Larry Mingalelli. Again, you can only vote for 9. If you vote for more than 9, your entire ballot is thrown out. That means if you voted for selectmen or school committee or town meeting, that ballot is no good. And I'd also like to give a plug to Matt Palante and Joe Vecchione, two guys that have really gone out. Matt Palante has done a phenomenal job as a new candidate, too. He's put the work in, and Joe Vecchione, who I think is, I wish Joe was running for selectman. He's a phenomenal candidate, and I hope that he sticks around and stays in Saugus politics. He's certainly one of the gifted ones and one of the ones who puts the time and effort in. So again, please go out and vote on November 7th. It's a very important day. This is how we change our future. You know, change is tough, and, you know, I've certainly taken my jabs over the last couple of months and the last years, but I think if I don't do this, I don't know who else is going to put the time and effort into doing it. It's a monumental undertaking, and I'm exhausted from it. I'm glad that we did it, and I think that, you know, I'm so proud of this group, every one of you. I know I recruited quite a few of you to get involved, and I'm glad I did. And I think we have a chance to really take Saugus and shape it for the future, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you, SCTV, for having us. Thank you, everybody here, and thank you to the public for watching. Good night, everyone.